Good evening, everybody. Um, this topic's been a little bit on my mind, as you will see by the title. Um, I truly feel uh, there needs to be better or more mentorship programs in the world for the youth growing up. I truly feel there's many ways to do that. You can do it through, like some of the scouting, some of the explorer posts. You can do it through fishing. You can do it through hunting. You could do it through so many different ways, like 4-H and all those types of really good, positive organizations, events that they attend and participate with. So, excuse me, I don't. Man, I had the burps pretty bad here today. I don't know what's going on here, but I grew up in a dysfunctional family. Everybody probably knows that by now. And the uh, the father figure was never a father or a dad. He was pretty much non-existent unless the court mandated him to do something, which usually was only financial contribution. As a kid growing up, I remember my dad only doing a few things with me. I said, "Dad, that's a bad word for what my biological father was," and all he was a biological father. He was never a dad. A dad is someone who does things with you, encourages you, attends your sporting events, or And I'm not just talking from a male side. It could be, if there was a daughter or a cheerleader, whatever, the gymnastics or whatever aspect. I can only speak from the male point of view growing up. So I had two mentors in my life that really pretty much changed my life and saved my life or extended my life, so to speak. Um, One was somebody I've talked about in the past, a trooper named Julio. I always want to mention his last name. I just for some reason, out of respect to him, and I always like to try and respect most people's. I know I've mentioned some troopers' names in the past, but usually if it's been a public documented event, then it's already out there. So I might mention their name. But Julio was 11 years older than me. He was born in Cuba. He became a Delaware State Trooper. He was the first Hispanic Delaware State Trooper, and he lived real close to me. And he loved to fish. So he pretty much adopted myself and another friend of mine. I actually met Julio through a friend of mine. Then later on in life, us, Julio and I, became really tight. The other friend pretty much lost contact with him for whatever reason. But Julio would take me fishing all the time. Really, really good role model. And if it had not been for him, due to the economic upbringing of the household I was in, lack of discipline, lack of a parental figure, I probably would have, to be honest with you, probably would have ended up in the penitentiary system. But with good role models around me, it was really nice. So Julio was one. When I got to high school, we had a new. This is funny story. We had a new football coach that came in. He came in 79ish or something, like near the end of 79. And he started his coaching career at Mount Pleasant High School, Wilmington, Delaware, around I think it was 1980. So he was another one. He and I are still very close to this day. Julio and I have not really stayed in touch lately. I did talk to him a couple years ago, um, but there's some family dynamics involved in his situation. But Coach David Needs, he won a state championship as a football coach. He came in and he laid the groundwork for what a successful football program would be, and he stuck by his values. When I went on to coach later in life for approximately 25 years, I implemented and utilized a lot of his values. I had a little bit of different coaching style, but when it came to discipline and trying to encourage the youth, I was always there for people. But I was a no nonsense football coach. So Coach Needs did a lot of things. I'll probably touch more on more of this, but there's a lot of different like role models out there. Like I remember a channel. There's a channel on here. A gentleman, he goes by, his channel's name is called Deer Corner, and he was talking about a young man that he kind of took under his wing to do some hunting with because I believe his father had passed away for some reason. I don't remember the reason, but those are the types of people we need in this world. Not everybody grows up in a, perfect household. There's not always a mother and a daughter and a, son and a daughter. It's not always the perfect environment. There's, so many challenges in today's society that can prevent people from becoming mature adults in the future. So there are so many things you can do. Like I mentioned, you could do 4-H, you could do farming, you could do gardening, you could do, take them to, visit a firehouse, a police station, maybe like the Coast Guard auxiliary station. There's so many things you can do to expose our youth to so many different aspects of a positive society. So, it's just, I always look back and I'm like, man, I truly believe I exceeded my expectations as far as longevity based on the how I was raised in that type of environment. So I'm sorry, I'm getting messages on my laptop here, and they tend to distract me. But this is more like just like a short video rambling about, let's find a way. Like, I'm going to give you an example that probably like a normal household would be somebody like Ted from Off the Hook Outdoors, because he's a good father figure. He's a very good father figure to his daughter, his son. There you go. There's the perfect example. Daughter, son, wife, and he does a lot of events with them, attends softball games, takes them fishing, they go on camping trips. They do a lot of things together. Unfortunately, a lot of, I keep referring to myself, but a lot of people may not have a mother or may not have a father growing up to expose them to different positive resources or positive behaviors, if you will. So I'd be interested to see what people have to say about what are some suggestions for positive mentorship. When I was in high school, we had a program. It was really cool. It was called an Explorers Club, and what it was like a co-ed. It was a co-ed group, and we would do a lot of camping. And we would go. Like I grew up in Wilmington, Delaware. Like I know we went to the Tuscarora Trail. We went rappelling off a cliff and all that stuff. And like when it was snowing and it was cold as heck, and we did a lot of cool stuff. But that was another really, really nice group. I know over the years, the Boy Scouts, kind of got a funny reputation. I still think probably for the most part, they're probably still a good organization. But I would say, you know, I think the more exposure you can give to a child, the more decisions or encouragement they're going to have and to make decisions for themselves in the future. So, like, I don't know why I thought of this example, but I used to love to go horseback riding when I was a kid. And later on in life, I ended up working at a couple DuPont estates, and I ended up, had to muck the stalls and worked with horses. And even though it was like literally like a crappy job, mucking, horse poop, stuff like that, it was a pretty good job. It was like, because you're around nature, it's outdoors. So I think the more things we can do to motivate our youth in a positive direction, I think it's really, really good idea. Just my opinion. There's a saying or a quote out there. It's not original by me, but I will repeat it. The world needs more tackle boxes and less X boxes. So if you understand that, get your kid off his behind, get him outside, take him away from the TV or the computer. It's kind of an oxymoron as I'm talking into a computer. But, get them outside, exposed to nature, learning about, wildlife, outdoors. It doesn't just have to be that. It could be like RC race cars or whatever it is. But that is my message for the day. Who has any suggestions on mentorship programs? What other programs are out there that I don't know about? I don't have any kids right now, but I've always enjoyed coaching football. That was my way to give back as a mentor. I coached high school football for like 25 years, off and on. And so that the reason I did that is because of Coach David Needs. He's pretty sure if he's not in, he's going into the Delaware Football Hall of Fame, because he's done a lot of tremendous things. But same thing with Julio. Like he was, those two figures in my life made me want to give back to youth. So was I a hard coach and a difficult coach? Yes. When we walked off the field and we were, off, when you stepped onto the playing field or the practice football facility, you're at work now. You're not no clowning around. We're here to do a job and fulfill a purpose. All that fun stuff can come later. So once we would leave that facility, get into the locker room or, hang out or whatever, then I would like check on, hey, how you doing in school? I always emailed the teachers, hey, even though basically I was a varsity football coach, but I liked to coach the younger levels like the JV and freshman teams at different institutions because that's where you can really affect a young man and teach him the sport of football. So I felt it's my obligation, based on the mentors I've had in my life, to give back. So I basically just repeated the process because I knew it was a positive process. I'm not saying I was the greatest coach in the world, but I know I did a lot of very, very good positive things for the youth. And the greatest feeling in the world, believe it or not, this is so sounds so corny, whatever, but when I run into a player that I have coached 10, 15, 20 years ago, whatever it is, and they still call you coach, that to me is a huge sign of respect. And recently, I'm friends with a channel called Full Blown Country, and it's Pooch and his wife. Her name is Pretty. That's her nickname, and she also has a YouTube channel. Something came up which she had no idea I had been a football coach. this is just so ironic. It doesn't make my head swell, but it's something about that title. Certain people respect titles. I don't want to sound like I have a fat head or anything, but Mike Ross's wife, Pretty, her name's Tish Ross, actually, her real name. Ever since she found out my nickname was Coach G, she's been calling me Coach G ever since. And I get a kick out of that because it's almost like she respects title. You know, if you're a doctor or something like that, you're always doc. You know, to me, it's, you know, like, you know, if you've been the president or, you know, senator, you're always going to be addressed as senator or Mr. President or, you know, what have you. So it's kind of interesting, like that, you know, you've impacted people, the youth, when later on they're still addressing you as coach. I did have a problem when a lot of the kids thought they could call me Gary, and I would squash that. I'm like, no, I'm your coach. You can call me Coach G, you can call me Coach Gary, you can call me Coach Calden, or just Coach, whatever it is. But we're not friends. We're not one-on-one friends. We're not on the same level when I'm in an authoritative position. Years later, not all of the people would call me coach, but some people I got closer with in time. It's not like I was a dictator where I demanded people call me coach. Like after they're done football, I'm okay with it. But if someone says it in a smart, like, hey, Gary, you know, because, you know, I had some conflicts with some kids at times. It's the ones that were disrespectful. And every once in a while, I'll run into one of those guys, and they always try and shoot the zinger, and usually I just ignore them because it just proves to me they've never changed. But it's so cool to be a part of so many young people's lives, and you know, to perhaps make a change in the world in a small way. You know, like it's weird. Every once in a while, I'll have somebody remind me, like, hey, you remember this or this, or, you know, thank you so much. Or I'll give you I'm trying to wrap this up because I've got food in the oven. It's going to, when we played in the state championship in Virginia and we lost like 20-0. We had like 5 or 6 starters out and everything. We had 2 outstanding brothers that played there. One played for the Dallas Cowboys. One went on to also play professional football. But their family was very hard on accepting me to their county. So I'll never forget after the season, you know, we're all in tears. We're brokenhearted. We did not achieve our goal. We were undefeated until we lost the state championship football game. And then that one player who played for the Dallas Cowboys, and he came up to every one of the coaches and said, thank you, with a tear in his eye. That, you know, you're accepted, you know, you're appreciated. So with that, I'm going to end this video. Try and always impact someone's life when you can. Improving our youth is I think more important now than ever. Our world has a lot of struggles right now. So I'm going to end this video. I'll be talking to you soon, my friend.